Does anyone remember the Super Straights? For those of you who go outside, Super Straight was a movement in early 2021 where a bunch of cisheads got together and decided that they were oppressed for being queerphobic.
I am super straight. Super straight is a new sexual orientation. It means you would date the opposite gender, but not if they were trans. This is not the same thing as transphobic, just like how gay men that only date men aren't sexist to women.
The movement has pretty much died, but from it, we got some crystallized nuggets of queerphobia. I was gonna make this video debunking each of the statements in this 10-second video I found on a remaining Super Straight subreddit. It got to a point though, where I was just repeating myself over and over again, so I decided to lump the arguments together for the sake of brevity and my own will to live. Number 1. Gay is caused by molestation. This argument is commonly associated with the idea that lesbians just have had bad experiences with men in the past.
I'll just say it without getting, it's a family show. In my experience, lesbians are people that have had a bad experience with men in their life, and most women grow out of it, and that's just my experience.
This just isn't true, as disproven by the same study that they cite. The paper records that 72% of lesbians identified as homosexual before being molested by a man. Number 2. Gay is a mental illness. A common thing homophobes tend to source is that because people in the LGBT community suffer from mental illness more than cishet people, there is something innately wrong with queer people. This is proven false by one of the first articles that they cite. The article states that LGBT people are more likely to have mental illnesses due to stigma, prejudice, and discrimination. This is placed under the magical concept of minority stress. What bothers me is the way this point is usually framed. It's stated in a way that says, these people kill themselves more, so we shouldn't care about them. This mindset ends up causing more mental illness and more suicide, thereby reinforcing their point. Number 3. Gay people do more drugs. Drug abuse can be caused by a lot of things, but a common reason is due to mental illness, which drugs can temporarily ease. I wonder how gay people get mental illnesses. Number 4. Gay people are diseased. The AIDS epidemic still lives on to this day, with gay and bisexual men accounting for the majority of HIV or AIDS cases. This can be largely attributed to poor sexual education and a lack of access to STI prevention tools, like condoms or PrEP. However, there is another way to contract HIV, and that is through drug use, which, as we have just discussed, can be caused by mental illnesses obtained through minority stress. It's also important to mention the fact that heterosexual people also get HIV. The stigma around HIV being a gay disease impacts those people indirectly, as they may not get tested because they aren't gay. Number 5. Gay people have a lot of sex. You bet we do. Excluding the aces, we're a whole community of giga-chad sex havers. Although it's a blessing and a curse, as with more sex becomes more chance of STIs, which explains the higher amounts of HIV cases. Number 6. Trans regret. At the core of the super straight identity is transphobia. A lot of their points about trans people are essentially the same as their ones against the rest of the LGBT community. However, there is one that is specific to trans people. Trans regret. Trans regret is when a transgender person goes through sexual reassignment surgery and eventually regrets making the decision to do so. The US Transgender Survey of 2015 cites 8% of transgender people detransitioned at some point. However, 62% of those only detransitioned temporarily and are living full-time in a gender that differs from what they were born as. The top 5 reasons for detransitioning were pressure from a parent, transitioning was too hard for them, they faced too much harassment or discrimination, they had trouble getting a job, or pressure from other family members. 5 of that 8% that detransitioned did so because they realized gender transition wasn't for them. Number 7. Super straight is a sexuality. They're actually right with this one. Super straight is a sexuality. However, Last time I checked, super straight people weren't being beaten in public for being who they are, held in Russian concentration camps, denied service because of their orientation, or bullied to the point of suicide. There is a reason why the LGBT community only highlights marginalized sexualities. It's because they are the ones that need helping.